Good morning, this is Kellaland on the Go, with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
Former Centerville Mayor Jay Ostrom will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Back in March, Ostrom was convicted for the 2024 murders of Zachary Frankus, Paul Frankus, and Timothy Richmond. The crimes took place in the southeastern South Dakota community. After Thursday's sentencing hearing, Denise Frankus, mother to two of the victims, spoke with us.
I hope that my boys are celebrating in paradise, and I can't wait to be with them sometime soon. I still have my daughter here, the boys' sister, and we're just gonna do our best to get through every single day.
Denise Frankus described her boys as, quote, very generous, very caring men. Firefighters in the Black Hills had to deal with exploding propane tanks while fighting a fire. Authorities say it happened around 5:30 Wednesday afternoon near Sturgis. Crews arriving on scene found a pole barn on fire.
The Sturgis Volunteer Fire Department shared these images of the fire. You could see flames shooting off from one of the tanks. Authorities say the tanks that exploded caused grass fires nearby and sent debris flying. Thursday was a windy and dusty day in parts of Kellaland. We've been experiencing lots of wind and little rain throughout most of April and May. Digital reporter Ray Yost took a look at how our dusty weather compares to the Dust Bowl days of the 1930s.
So far, this may be one of the driest Mays on record, which is comparable to dry spells during the Dust Bowl. But there are some differences between now and then. For a deeper look at 2026 compared to the dusty 1930s, you can check out this Kellaland.com original story online now.
Now let's get a check on your weather with meteorologist Brian Carstens. And Brian, will it be just as windy today as it was yesterday?
Well, the good news is no, we're not looking at much wind today, but we are expecting some storm development in parts of northwest Iowa. That's a story that I do want to address here because we've got a slight risk that runs through Sioux City up to Spencer, and then just a little bit south and east from there. It's actually an enhanced risk. So pay attention to the weather as we go into the afternoon. I do expect that there will be pockets of severe weather in those areas. And our forecast today, Sioux Falls. At this point, we're going to keep Sioux Falls dry. We'll watch those clouds there to the south. 87 the high in Sioux Falls, 82 in Aberdeen, 81 in Pierre, and 79 Rapid City. That's a quick look at the weather. We'll get to our complete forecast coming up.
Thank you, Brian. South Dakota state officials are responding to worsening drought conditions across the state as rivers and creeks continue running low.
State officials recently sent low flow warning letters to appropriators along Split Rock Creek as dry conditions continue across South Dakota.
Well, the hard part is that when you got acres that you irrigate with, you increase your population a little bit. You do some more remedies to increase your crop. We're seasonal, and we do. Farmers that irrigate do depend on it. But Knife River, that definitely needs it to wash their gravel for a water source.
All they can do is wait for rain. Still, Johnson says people in the area understand dry years are a part of life on the prairie. Governor Larry Roden has activated the state drought task force while officials continue monitoring state river levels. Voters are taking their time in filing out absentee ballots ahead of the June election in Minnehaha County.
The auditor describes turnout as slow, with around 1,500 ballots casted so far. People voting Thursday were in and out quickly without having to wait in any lines.
I do know there's a lot on the ballot. A lot of people are probably taking their time to make decisions, which is wise. And, I would just encourage people to study their ballot ahead of time.
Anderson expects around 3,000 total absentee ballots to be cast ahead of the June 1st deadline. A longtime city employee for the Sioux Falls Street Department is retiring. Charlie Putzier has spent the past 45 years working for the city and seen a half dozen mayors come and go.
As the maintenance supervisor, he's played a big role in keeping city streets clear of snow in the wintertime. Putzier says the city has changed dramatically over the years.
I used to run a blade for maintaining gravel, and I remember that they'd send me out to like 57th and Western. Go blade the gravel roads at 57th and Western. What?
Putzier's boss calls him the go-to guy and says he will be missed. His last day is May 28th.
That's a look at some of our top stories.
And now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Karstens. And Brian, there is a lot of weather headlines today.
There are, yeah, we've got a lot of things to talk about as we first of all discuss the chance of some severe weather in northwest Iowa and then kind of spreading to the southeast. There is that risk here later on today and tonight for some damaging winds and hail, and that actually probably sparks on the western edge of this slight risk zone. So it does include Plymouth and Sioux counties in northwest Iowa. Sioux Falls is not included in any of that, so I just want to be clear about that. I think Sioux Falls is pretty much safe from that, but south and east is a different story here as we go through the late afternoon and evening. Now into tomorrow. It gets a little more tricky in Nebraska. We've got a developing warm front. We could see some episodes of storms trying to develop. I think most of South Dakota will be dry on Saturday. Our air mass is pretty stable, but then we go into Saturday night, and this is kind of what we're watching here. Toward midnight, we'll see if any storms pop up in this region and if they try to work their way to the northeast. There probably will be additional areas of rain in western South Dakota, but that area currently is not under any severe weather risk for Saturday. Now Sunday, the risk map does shift to the north. We anticipate a warm front will be shifting to the north. We could start the morning with some pockets of storms around the region, and then we think through the day it will warm up sufficiently and destabilize in the warm sector, and so we'll have probably additional weather headlines to track. How much? All those particulars, it's a little tough to call, but already Futurecast lends itself into that line of thinking here Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. Well, we're not done either. We got another one on Monday. Monday does slide to the south a little bit more, but still, that's all going to depend on how much we get on Sunday. So keep an eye on the weather because I have a feeling a lot of these variables will be in play, but ultimately it looks very, very likely that there are going to be numerous rounds of severe storms in the plains. That's a blanket statement, but that's one I feel very confident about. It's now all the little details that we'll get to. Let's look at Saturday, though. You got, low 80s. Sioux Falls looks pretty good, actually, in the afternoon. I think keep all your plans there. Sunday, that's where, again, we could kick off the day with some showers and storms, and then ultimately what happens in the morning will determine a little bit, too, on how many new storms fire later in the day. But you notice the 70s and 80s in the southeast, and eventually this whole system's really going to cool off. We're going to expect snow in the Black Hills by Monday. I think Sioux Falls, that 72 is just a placeholder right now. There's a chance we might slide on the north side of the boundary. We could stay in the 50s on Monday. But at the same time, we could be looking at upper 80s and low 90s as far north as Sioux City. So it's going to be a really tough call on Monday. That one is just a wait and see. And then by Tuesday, I feel pretty good about it getting colder. I think highs will be in the 50s and 60s. There'll be some leftover rain chances. We'll see how low these temperatures tumble in Aberdeen, but it could be in the 30s for a couple of mornings. We'll monitor that. There could be a little snow in eastern North Dakota. There will likely be snow in the Black Hills, as I just mentioned. Here, too, you're going to get kind of chilly in this forecast by probably Tuesday. The high in Rapid City, only 48 on Monday, and that's a very chilly rain mixed with snow and lows in the 30s. Okay, that's a lot of weather. We've got a lot more coverage, though, online at KELOLAND.com.